جيش لا توضع أمامه خطوط حمر.
Good afternoon on this Saturday, April 5th. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's headlines. 3 soldiers are wounded in a shootout during a house raid in the eastern part of the country. Allegations of sexual harassment against Beirut's acting governor surface after a filmed video implicating the official is published online. And millions of Afghans cast their ballots to pick the country's next president. 3 soldiers have been wounded during a raid on a house in the eastern part of the country. A shootout erupted between the soldiers and several suspects when an army patrol entered a home in the Hermel neighborhood of Dita. The patrol succeeded in arresting Mashhour Ali Shammas, but the other suspect fled. The army patrol raided the house after 3 people tossed 2 hand grenades at the town's police station the night before. The explosives landed in the garden of the police station, causing slight material damage. The attack was intended as retaliation for the detention of 2 men wanted for stealing copper electrical wires in the town. Lebanon's military prosecutor is charging 12 people, including the Arab Democratic Party official Rafat Eid, over the clashes in the northern city of Tripoli. Judge Sa'ad charged Eid and 11 others of belonging to an armed terror organization in carrying out terrorist attacks in Tripoli. The charges included provoking strife and taking part in fighting in the Tripoli neighborhood of Jabal al-Muhsin. Eid's party dismissed reports that he had fled the country, but his whereabouts remain unknown. Earlier this week, the army launched a security plan aiming at restoring stability to the city plagued by intermittent battles linked to the Syrian crisis, apprehending dozens of wanted suspects. Tripoli has witnessed nearly 20 rounds of violence between the Sunni-dominated Bebit Tabili neighborhood and the Jabal al-Muhsin district, mostly populated with Alawites. Prime Minister Tamam Salam is expressing hope that the new Lebanese president would be a local choice, stressing that his cabinet will do everything in its power to prepare for the presidential elections. In an interview, Salam said that the international and regional powers that haven't had an impact on the Lebanese local affairs support staging the presidential elections on time. He also stressed that his government will exert efforts to prepare for the appropriate atmosphere to carry out the elections. Just yesterday, the Lebanese Forces Executive Committee unanimously agreed to back the candidacy of LF Chief Samir Jaja to the presidency. Lebanese media have also identified other presidential hopefuls as Kata'ib Party leader and ex-president Amin Jmayil, MPs Boutros Harib and Robert Ghanem. Allegations of sexual harassment against Beirut's acting governor have surfaced after a covertly filmed video implicating the official was published on YouTube. In the video released on Thursday, former employee Huda Sankari speaks to a camera accusing Nassif Kaloush, who is the governor of North Lebanon, of sexually harassing her. The video then shows a 10-minute conversation with Kaloush that Sankari secretly filmed on her phone. The two discuss why Sankari's contract as a laboratory technician in the municipality of Mina had not been renewed. Throughout the video, Kaloush stands behind his office desk with his hand in his pockets, while Sankari stands opposite to him. When asked why her contract was not being renewed, Kaloush appears evasive, answering, "Because I'm not seeing you and I asked to see you, but you did not come." Interior Minister Nuhad Mashna was quoted by the national news agency late on Thursday saying he took all necessary legal procedures over the case. The leader of an al-Qaeda-based group has called on Syrian militant groups to determine who killed his representative in the country, a man many fighters believe died at the hands of a rival militia. In a recorded message posted on militant website, Ayman al-Zawahiri endorses a previous call for Islamic arbitration by the al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front over the death of Abu Khalid al-Suri, who him and his allies say was killed by the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. Al-Zawahiri called the Suri's killing sedition and said that all Muslims should confront it and form a general opinion against it and against anyone who does not accept the Sharia arbitration. The Islamic State has not responded yet to the arbitration call. And heavy clashes and air raids were underway in the Damascus suburb of Mleiha, leaving at least 12 rebels dead and a brigade leader killed. According to the Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, 4 men and a child were also killed by aerial bombardment on areas in Douma city. Regime forces bombarded areas in the Al-Mleiha town after yesterday's midnight with surface-to-surface rocket, which led to injuries. Clashes also took place between regime forces and Islamic battalions around the vehicles management near Harasta. There were many human losses on both sides. And millions of Afghans cast their ballots to pick the country's next president, with only isolated attacks on polling stations reported in Afghanistan's first democratic transfer of power in its 5,000-year history. After months of maneuvering, jockeying, tribal meetings and campaigning, Ashraf Ghani, Ahmad Zai, Abdullah, and Zalmay Rasool have emerged as the frontrunners in Saturday's polls. Coming from a field of 8 candidates that includes everyone from former Mujahideen commanders to Western-educated technocrats. Afghanistan has never been and has never seen an election so well prepared and so well in advance. And this comes on the eve in Afghanistan still, where one foreign photographer has been killed and a reporter wounded in a shooting by an Afghani policeman in the country's east a day before the elections. Associated Press photographer Anja Niedringhaus, a 48-year-old German national, was killed instantly, according to the news agency, while AP reporter Kathy Gannon, a Canadian, was wounded in the attack on Friday. The agency reported that the two were traveling in a convoy of election workers delivering ballots from the center of Khost city to the outskirts in Tani district. The convoy was protected by the Afghan National Army and Afghan police. They were in their own car with a freelancer and a driver. According to the freelancer, they had arrived in the heavily guarded district compound shortly before the incident. Coming up next, Sarah Jessica Parker collaborates with shoe giant Manolo Blahnik. Stay with us. We'll be back with more. Welcome back on Future TV. White House spokesman Josh Earnest says that Israelis and Palestinians should take responsibility in making steps towards a successful peace negotiation. His comments come after U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says the Obama administration will re-evaluate its role in foundering Middle East peace talks following actions by both Israel and the Palestinians that have brought the negotiations to a virtual collapse.
What Secretary Kerry has done is worked tirelessly to travel to the region frequently. I think he's been there 11 times now just in the last year or so. And he's been tireless in his efforts to try to broker some common ground between the Israelis and Palestinians. Ultimately, however, what we have seen is that it's the responsibility of the Israelis and Palestinian leaders to make these difficult decisions, to take these difficult steps on their own. These are the decisions that need to be reached to pursue common ground, cannot be imposed by the United States or any other country in the world. We remain committed to this task. At the same time, this ultimate goal that we're aiming for is something that can only be accomplished when the leaders of the Israeli people and the Palestinian people decide to make the very difficult decisions that they alone can make.
The United States says it will provide a new loan guarantee for Tunisia worth about $500 million as part of a continuing effort to help the North African nation recover following its 2011 uprising. President Barack Obama, speaking ahead of a meeting with Tunisian Prime Minister Mehdi Jama at the White House, said the loan guarantees will help ensure that Tunisia has a society that can thrive and that its economy begins to move forward with reform. The loan guarantee comes more than 3 years after street protests drove longtime Tunisian President Zine Al Abidine Ben Ali from power in 2011, sparking a wave of similar uprisings across North Africa and the Middle East. Obama said the United States has an investment in making sure Tunisia is successful. 2 Italian priests and a Canadian man were kidnapped in Cameroon overnight, according to the Vatican Radio. The radio station, part of the official news service of the Catholic Church, said 2 groups of armed men had raided the houses of priests and nuns in the parish of Maroua in northern Cameroon at around 2 a.m. local time. Italy's foreign ministry named the priest as Giampaolo Marta and Gianmatonio Allegri from the Diocese of Benessisa in northeastern Italy. It did not identify the nun and said it was working with the Italian embassy in Yaoundé to resolve the situation. A spokesman said the ministry did not have any information on whether the assault was carried out by Boko Haram Islamist militants, as reported by Italian media. Just for your information, Boko Haram has killed thousands of people in its insurgency in northern Nigeria, which borders the north of Cameroon. In other world news, thousands of supporters of Thailand's prime minister have massed in the capital as part of a 3-day rally countering months of anti-government protests, pledging to deter any move to dismiss Prime Minister Shinawatra Yingluck, who faces a growing list of legal challenges that could bring down her administration. Up to 20,000 red shirts were already gathered by Saturday morning, several hours ahead of the official start of the rally, according to Paradorn Patanantabut, a security advisor to the premier. Paradorn said the authorities did not expect any clashes with rival anti-government protesters who have been holding daily rallies in a park in the city center from the site of the red shirt rallies. The commander of U.S. Army Base Fort Hood said that an escalating argument was the likely cause of the shooting in which a U.S. soldier killed 3 other military men and wounded another 16 before turning his gun on himself. The Texas base's commander, Lieutenant General Mark Miley, told journalist that Specialist Ivan Lopez is believed to have had an argument in his unit area before opening fire, and investigators believe his mental condition was not the direct precipitating factor in the shooting.
Clarify 2 points specific to Specialist Lopez's medical condition. First, we are digging into his combat experience in Iraq, and so far we have not discovered any specific traumatic event, wounds received in action, contact with the enemy, or anything else specific that he may have been exposed to while deployed. His underlying medical conditions are not a direct precipitating factor. We believe that the immediate precipitating factor was more likely an escalating argument in his unit area. But we are still conducting that detailed investigation, and we will address every single one of the causal and contributing factors that resulted in this horrible tragedy.
If you love shoes as much as I do, Sarah Jessica Parker, who won 4 Golden Globes for her portrayal of the sassy New York colonist in the 6-year series Sex and the City, is delighted when Manolo Blahnik, the chief executive, George Malcolmus, took on the title Pipsqueak to create Arrange Together. According to CNN, the real-life Manolo Blahnik, diehard, called up Malcolmus on the off chance he'd want to create Arrange with her. The actress said that she was terrified at picking up the phone and being bold enough to ask George if he would ever consider a partnership. The 49-year-old added that she was perfectly willing, in fact prepared, for Malcolmus to say no. Interestingly, Malcolmus, who had never worked with a female designer before, revealed that he asked the actress to come to his office the next morning. The shoes will cost between $195 and $500 and will be sold at U.S. retail giant Nordstrom, a place partly chosen for its accessibility to a wider range of women. And on that note, we end our bulletin for today. Let me remind you of our top stories. 3 soldiers are wounded in a shootout during a house raid in eastern Lebanon. Allegations of sexual harassment against Beirut's acting governor surface after a film video implicating the official is published online. And millions of Afghanis cast their ballots to pick the country's next president. That's it from me and the news team here at Future TV. Have a great weekend.
جيش لا توضع أمامه خطوط حمر